What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Dylan Talks Tone. Today I want to talk about humbuckers again. So we're building some humbuckers today. I've got some pickups in various states of assemble. And so I want to talk about the difference between a 2-wire humbucker and a 4-wire humbucker. We're going to dive in real close here. We're going to talk about the compatibility between brands, what we need to look for, because a lot of times if you'll buy a set from me, or you buy a set from Seymour Duncan, or you buy a set from DiMarzio, or you buy a set from whomever, the wiring diagram is going to be a little bit different. But if you kind of understand the principles of how it works, you'll still be able to do what you need to do to wire the guitar. So I'm going to show you what's inside the humbucker so that you get kind of a better idea of what you're looking at when the wire's sticking out. Before we do that, do me a favor, hit the subscribe button and the like button. And if you want to buy any of this stuff, we don't really have sponsors for this channel, so I'll just sponsor my own stuff. DylanTalksTone.com. Check it out. We make pickups. All right, let's dive in. So we're going to start our conversation with two completed pickups. We've got this humbucker and this humbucker, okay? And you see how we've got the vintage style braided wire with got the cloth in there, and it's got the ground sleeve on the outside, right? A 2-wire humbucker, that's what they kind of call that. Sometimes you'll see it in a vinyl PVC wire like this with just a red and a white one, or a ground and a red one, or something like that, but there'll just be two principal wires in there, okay? This one is a 4-wire humbucker, and you see we've got 4 wires sticking out of it. These are the same humbuckers. These are the same principal thing. We've just wired the exterior wires differently. So we want to dive in and talk about what's actually going on inside there. This is a basic coil for a humbucker that's been wound, but nothing's been done to it. As you can imagine, when you start the coil, you've got this wire underneath. I just put tape on it so that it sticks in a certain spot. So you've got the start of the coil, which is taped under this piece of tape. And then the coil starts winding, and it winds, and it winds, and it winds, and it winds. And now you have the end, or the finish, right? So you have two ends of a coil. You have the start of the coil, and you have the finish of the coil. So once we start getting into our next steps of humbucker assembly, we have two of those coils, right? So we have our two sides of the humbucker. We have our screw side and we have our slug side. And each side has a start and a finish, right? That would make sense. So there's your 4 wires for your humbucker. Now, if we stop right here, as you can imagine, those parts exist inside this 2-wire humbucker. It's just a matter of how we hook them up. So we need to get these 4 wires to the guitar somehow. We can choose to do a 2-wire setup, or we can do a 4-wire setup. The question is, how do we do this correctly so that the humbucker works right? Which ends hook up to which ends? Okay, so we've got our 2 coils with a start and a finish. Now this is where we're going to start to see the difference between brands, because the wire that they choose to put on here, you could put any color wire you want: pink, purple, brown, yellow, green, red, black, white, doesn't matter. Start, finish, right? So each coil has a start and each coil has a finish. So basically what needs to happen is you need to establish, each brand establishes their color code for their setup. Now on our pickups at Dylan Talks Tone, it's pretty much as you see here. So we've got red over here is going to be our slug, or our north side start. Okay. And then over here, we're going to have our green is going to be our north side finish. I guess that's the nationality, not the word. Anyway, over here, we're going to have our white be our south side start. And over here, we're going to have our black be our south side finish. It's actually supposed to be one N. Over here, I suppose, if you want to take a sauna, you can spell it that way. Okay, so here we go. We've got our 4 wires on our pickup. You can choose any color you want when you're establishing your pickup brand, but you need to know if you're mixing pickup brands, what they are. So when you buy a set of pickups from us, we give you a wiring diagram that tells you not only the colors of the wires, but also what each one of them is. Because now we're going to dive into how a humbucker works and how the 2 different ways that we will hook up a pickup and what that means for the wiring possibilities. Before we do that though, I want to talk about north and south because this is also a variable in pickup building. So we have our humbucker magnet and it sits in between the bobbins like this. Of course, the humbucker magnet has polarity on it. So we have, the way this tool works is we have, whoops, see that white? That shows that it's north, and we have black, and that shows that it's south, according to this tool. A humbucker magnet is not magnetized on the flats, it's magnetized on the sides. So on our pickups, we have north on this side and south on this side. So this is the way our humbucker would be assembled. North side of the magnet goes that way, south side of the magnet goes this way. This is also a variable between brands. Some other brand might actually have it with the pickup, the magnet flipped the other way. So it's just kind of brand specific, right? That's why you can't go by one master wiring diagram because everybody does things a little differently. So now knowing this, we need to understand how a humbucker works. Basically what happens is we have one polarity of the wire on this, or the magnet on this side, and one polarity of the magnet on this side, and we have the wind direction, okay? So the start is the white wire here, so the signal comes basically in here and then out the finish. On this side, it comes in the start and out the finish, right? So the trick though is that the signal needs to go one way in one pickup coil and the other way in the other pickup coil. So the way we accomplish that to make a humbucker work is we actually hook the finish wires together. Okay? And we call that our center link. Okay? And then we have our south start, which in our pickups is the white, and it goes to ground. And our north start, which is the red, it goes to, you know, a switch, you know, whatever, or the switch or the volume pot or whatever. This is where the signal more or less leaves the pickup and goes, because, not to get too technical here, but signal actually travels from ground to hot, not the other way. So this is sort of the output of the pickup goes to whatever other thing we're going to do. So the signal in the pickup goes this way, from ground, in here, out here, and then in the out the finish, and then in the finish, and then out the other start, so that the signal goes opposite directions and opposite magnetic polarities, thus making us a humbucker. As you can see here, all 4 wires are being used. However, externally to the pickup, you can make it to where only the ground wire and only the hot wire stick out. So that would be this situation where we would internally to the pickup hook up our white wire to the ground sleeve. We would hook up our red wire to the center conductor, and these 2 wires, this one and this one, are the only ones that get hooked up to the guitar. The center link, the green one and the black one, would be soldered internally in the pickup, and then basically you couldn't coil split it, you couldn't phase flip it, you couldn't do any of that stuff. But with the pickups that are designed not for that, it makes sense. So like this is one of our DAF kind of vintage style PAF style pickups, and so therefore we would not have it coil splittable. This is one of our center punch pickups, and we would want to coil split it. So what we would then do is we would not internally link this inside the pickup. Basically, we would allow the green wire and the black wire to exit the pickup, and we would have an arrangement like thusly. And then so outside the pickup, what you would do is then you would have your red wire that hooks up to the guitar. You would have your white wire that's still kind of our two-wire setup, quote unquote, that hooks up to the ground. And then these two wires are tied together, center link, only outside the pickup, not inside the pickup, right? And you wouldn't do it with black tape. This is just because I was messing around with something. You would solder this properly. In fact, it probably is soldered properly inside there, but anyway. And then this is also the wire that you would use to make a coil split for the guitar. So this would be this is the difference between a 2-wire and a 4-wire setup. I guess what we could do real quick is let me show you a couple of different wiring possibilities for a 4-wire pickup. All right, so we're going to simplify our drawing here a little bit. But what we would do basically, let's say we're going to do a coil split. We would take the finishes from both wires, or from both pickups like this. We would tie them together, right? And then this would be our center link, like we talked about in the last drawing. And then what we would do is we would put this on a switch that would go to ground on one side of the switch, and then it would just be open on the other side. Because basically the way you coil split a pickup is you ground the center link, that shuts one of the coils off, then you unground the center link, and then it comes back. It basically shorts one of the coils to ground. That's really how it works. So your switch would be ground on one side, open on the other. When it's open, it's a whole humbucker. When it's grounded, when these two wires are grounded, then it is single coil. Then you would take, in our case, this would go off to the guitar. The start wire of the north side of the coil would go off to the guitar, and then the south side start would go to ground. And that is basically it. And in this situation with our stuff, this would turn off the screw side. That's how that works with our pickup. Our neck side would stay on, and our screw side would shut off. Another popular wiring setup would be is to take your start and your finish, and your start and your finish, and hook them up to the guitar separately. So instead of being in series like a normal hum canceling setup, you would actually hook these up like two separate pickups. They would be in parallel. They would work at about the half of the overall output of the pickup, even though it wouldn't be much quieter. They would still be hum canceling because you would have that magnet in the middle, and you would have the two different coils in opposite directions, running in opposite directions. However, you would have them in parallel instead of series. So this is your conventional humbucker sound. This would sound very single coily in parallel. So in that case, you could just hook these two up separately. The other thing you could do is you could also hook them up out of phase with each other as well, which basically means that you would take one of this finish and this start and hook this up, and this finish and this start and hook this up, and they would run out of phase with each other, basically hooking them up backwards instead of this. So there's a couple of different possibilities that you could do with this 4-wire setup. Yeah, so that gives you a couple of ideas. So you can coil split, you can do phase inversion, you can run in parallel, There's a bunch of different things that you could do. You could actually, with a 4-wire pickup, there's a couple setups. Paul Reed Smith has it, and so does Ibanez, I think, where you can run outside coils and inside coils, meaning when you have 2 humbuckers in the guitar and they're facing this way, then you can have, you know, outside and inside coils on at the same time. All kinds of fun wiring diagrams for that stuff. When you order a pickup from us, we give you the basic wiring diagram to just hook it up to the guitar, and a couple other little things so you know how to coil split and all that. But if you Google it, you'll find out there's a bunch of possibilities. I am sure that there's going to be somebody in the comments that's like, I can't believe you made a video about this versus video and didn't do a sound sample. Well, you know what a humbucker sounds like. Chances are if you're here, you know what a coil split humbucker sounds like. So, you know, there's no reason to do a sound sample. There has been argument for many, many years on the internet as to whether a pickup with a 4-wire, if you make the exact, let's say you made the exact same pickup, right? And you wired one with a 2-wire and you wired one with 4-wire, would they sound different? Because theoretically, the signal has to go all the way this way, then all the way down, and then all the way back. So does that make it sound any different than internally linking it inside the pickup? Since the resistance per foot of this wire is so low, it will not have even a measurable difference or impact on the inductance of the pickup. Therefore, there will not be a tonal change. I know a lot of people want to say, it's interesting how guitar players will visualize that a thing must be that way because it exists, but the science just doesn't support it. So don't worry about it. What I would tell you is that if you don't want to coil split your guitar, you don't have to get all this stuff, just get this. It makes a very simple install. Most of our pickups come with the vintage style wire, and the ones that we encourage coil splitting, like our center punch and our 8-ball, for example, come 4-wire. So just a couple of possibilities and some ideas. Although if you email me and say, hey, I'm doing a special build, can you make this one 4-wire that you don't normally make 4-wire? Of course I'll do it for you. So there you go. Gives you a little outline. If you have any questions about it, get in the comments and let me know. Humbucker wiring can be confusing for some folks, but that is just the basics of it. It applies to all humbuckers pretty much. Just depending on what color sticks out the end of the pickup is the only difference. Do me a favor, hit the subscribe button and the like button if you like this kind of stuff. We talk about guitar stuff almost every day of the week on this here channel. We have a Patreon. That's what supports this channel and keeps it going, so thank you so much. And we will see you in the next video.